Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So you do launch your video, and you guys, that it's kind of like a 2 minute. Yeah, we'll cut your microphones during the video, just in case. I don't know if you guys. Exactly. Just we'll wait for the end of the video before we start the second half anyway. That's all during the first phase of the video, just to make sure. But we'll cut your microphones.
Oui, t'entends. Oui, c'est le microphone ici.
Yeah, you guys can hear me?
Can you hear me? Hello? So, it's
Oh, sorry, my bad. I guess I was talking to the wrong mic. So at the end of the conclusion, we'll launch a video. It's a minute or 90-second long. So you guys will cut your microphone so you can talk, but try not to at the start of the video just to make sure. That'll be your quick break before starting the second half of the talk. But we'll kind of guide you to the second part anyways. We'll say, all right, or how are you guys feeling? Or is everything good in camera, sound check and everything? And then we'll go into the second part. Yeah, you guys stay on this Teams conversation for sure. Yeah. And Garance,
Être indépendant, c'est pouvoir gérer son emploi du temps, l'adapter à nos envies, travailler plus quand il faut travailler plus, passer plus de temps avec sa famille si on a envie. Bien sûr, je me suis déjà posé la question de savoir comment j'allais être couvert en cas d'accident, en cas de maladie, comment j'allais être protégé à ce moment-là. Ça fait 3 ans que je travaille avec Uber. Ces dernières années, tout se passait bien. Et puis en mars 2020, je me réveille un matin, fatigué, tout, mal de tête. Je commence à paniquer en fait. J'appelle mon médecin, je lui décris mes symptômes. Il me dit que c'est le Covid. Là, c'est 21 jours d'arrêt, d'isolement. C'est le coup de massue. Être à l'arrêt pendant 21 jours quand on est indépendant, c'est très compliqué. Il y a toujours des factures qui arrivent. Si on ne règle pas, ça s'accumule en fait. J'ai entendu parler de la protection partenaire. C'est une couverture AXA à laquelle j'ai droit gratuitement en conduisant avec Uber. J'ai rempli une déclaration sur le site d'AXA. Par la suite, ils m'ont recontacté. Ça a pris quelques jours pour avoir une compensation financière. C'est bien d'être indépendant, mais avoir une protection comme celle-ci, c'est essentiel. Le fait d'avoir traversé cette épreuve, ça m'a ouvert les yeux sur pas mal de choses. J'ai envie de consacrer encore plus de temps à ma famille, à mes proches et à moi-même aussi. Être indépendant, c'est pouvoir gérer son emploi du temps, l'adapter à nos envies, travailler plus quand il faut travailler plus, passer plus de temps avec sa famille si on a envie. Bien sûr, je me suis déjà posé la question de savoir comment j'allais être couvert en cas d'accident, en cas de maladie, comment j'allais être protégé à ce moment-là. Ça fait 3 ans que je travaille avec Uber. Ces dernières années, tout se passait bien. Et puis en mars 2020, je me réveille un matin, fatigué, tout, mal de tête. Je commence à paniquer en fait. J'appelle mon médecin, je lui décris mes symptômes. Il me dit que c'est le Covid. Là, c'est 21 jours d'arrêt, d'isolement. C'est le coup de massue. Être à l'arrêt pendant 21 jours quand on est indépendant, c'est très compliqué. Il y a toujours des factures qui arrivent. Si on ne règle pas, ça s'accumule en fait. J'ai entendu parler de la protection partenaire. C'est une couverture AXA à laquelle j'ai droit gratuitement en conduisant avec Uber. J'ai rempli une déclaration sur le site d'AXA. Par la suite, ils m'ont recontacté. Ça a pris quelques jours pour avoir une compensation financière. C'est bien d'être indépendant, mais avoir une protection comme celle-ci, c'est essentiel. Le fait d'avoir traversé cette épreuve, ça m'a ouvert les yeux sur pas mal de choses. J'ai envie de consacrer encore plus de temps à ma famille, à mes proches et à moi-même aussi.
Hello, everyone. Apologize for our technical sound problem. I'm Scott Gunter. Hello, everyone. I'm Scott Gunter. We are excited to have you with us on the 3rd edition of the AXA Live Innovation Talks, dedicated to key innovation topics with prominent leaders, entrepreneurs, and experts. Don't forget, you can watch previous episodes on YouTube. We are also on social media, so do not hesitate to ask your questions on YouTube, LinkedIn, or Twitter. Today's topic, how can innovation better protect workers in the gig economy? As we continue our transition from a manufacturing economy to a service economy, we are seeing a shift from full-time employment to a more independent work. This trend poses a major challenge. How do we make sure independent contractors get access to the same protections that regular employees have? To dive into how we can protect independent workers in a new economy, I have the pleasure of welcoming Duran Motez, founder and CEO of NFriends. NFriends offers a unique last-mile hybrid multi-product distribution network for emerging markets, connecting consumer goods, insurers, and financial institutions with small retailers and consumers. NFriends are global strategic partners of Microsoft, Coca-Cola, AXA Insurance, and many others. 100 million last mile retailers in emerging markets represent 5 trillion of trade compose this last mile network. Our second guest is Michael Rainey, head of international insurance at Uber. In Q1 of this year, Uber served 98 million unique customers who took 1.4 billion rides and deliveries in more than 10,000 cities across 71 countries. In Europe, Uber are present in 21 out of 27 EU countries, plus the UK, where 600,000 drivers and couriers used the app in 2020 to access flexible earnings opportunities. And our third guest is our own Garance Watez Richard, head of AXA's emerging customers. a unit dedicated to making insurance accessible, affordable, and relevant to 4 billion low-income and mass-market customers who remain vulnerable to unforeseen events. Without further ado, let's dive into the topic. Let's start with a quick roundtable question. So this is for all of you. A recent MetLife study on the gig economy found that 85% of current independent workers wanted to continue as gig workers. Is the gig economy indeed here to stay? Garance, do you want to take first shot at that?
Thank you, Scott. And I hope everybody can hear us because I've been getting a few messages saying some people still can't. So hopefully they can now. Thanks for that question and thanks for introducing me, Scott. I'm not sure many of us are going to say no. The recent numbers I looked this morning and it said by 2023 we were going to go from approximately 50 million to 80 million gig workers. So it looks like it's here to stay. And the one thing I would just add is that given that gig workers are characterized by flexibility, agility, and also a relatively irregular, purpose-driven, let's say, work week, I think every single trend in the market, digitalization, artificial intelligence, cashless markets, pandemics, women in the workplace, rising inequality, so some good, some bad, aging populations, all the numbers seem to be saying the same.
Perfect. Thank you. Doron, do you want to add any comments?
Yeah, I'm not going to surprise Garance. I also think it's going to be here. And I'll take the emerging markets angle. So we're looking at the small independent businesses in emerging markets. And for them, the biggest issue is really to have a stable living and create enough earnings for themselves. And the gig economy is a great way to enhance the amount of money that they can make, or they have the spare time, but they don't have ways to really make money. And especially when we're looking at youth and women that can leverage these capabilities in emerging markets. Great,
thank you. And Michael, any comments to add?
Yeah, thanks, Scott. Thanks for having me. I'm not going to disagree with either Garance or Doron. Agree with those points. I think good points made. Gig work is here to stay. I don't think that number is actually surprising. Independent work isn't new. People have been doing this for many, many years across all kinds of trades. And I think what we see is that apps have made it easier and more efficient to connect workers to earning opportunities. And that's given them more flexibility to work whenever they want. And I think what we're seeing in those numbers is that people are responding to that.
Excellent. Thank you all. Thank you. Our next question is for Garance. When we talk about independent workers, there are many different statuses and situations. What are their different needs in terms of protection?
Thanks, Scott. Just one thing is it appears to be working much better on YouTube than on LinkedIn. So there seems to be an issue on LinkedIn. So those of you who are on LinkedIn, maybe if you try on YouTube, it seems to be working more. So just very quickly, I think the interesting thing you mentioned before, Scott, that was also mentioned by the two other people, is that it's not one size fits all, right? So what's new? What's a new topic? Basically, it's a new trend. I think we can still call it new. Working without a work contract in Western or Occidental lenses actually is the norm, back to Doran's point, in many parts of the world, right? There's a source of the ILO which says that more than 60% of the world's employed population are in the informal economy, and in Africa that's almost 90%. So they have no health or accident benefits. So while on the one hand, in so-called developed markets, the gig economy is about how to transform and adapt social protection, right, which was born through the invention of the work contract a while ago, to sort of this new trend, a new way of working. In emerging markets, it's really a formidable opportunity to build the safety nets from scratch. So just to really go back to the second part of your question, when we say gig economy workers, we tend to think about drivers and riders, right? That's the first thing that comes to mind. But they're electricians, they're plumbers, they're domestic workers. And my team found quite interesting numbers that are quite recent, actually, which says that basically 40% are transport-based services, so ride-hailing, courier delivery. About 20% are asset sharing services. I hope I'm getting the numbers right. I try to learn them by heart, but so renting an asset owner or gig workers property. And then professional services are about 20%. Who are those? They're writers, translators, graphic designers, etc. And then the 20% remaining are household services and handmade goods, right? So I think we have to think more largely of who we're talking about. And very quickly on the second part of your question, their protection needs are threefold: structural external factors, the Uber driver with COVID; work-related factors, damage to the Uber driver's car or theft of the mobile phones; and personal, obviously, and family related factors like, again, inability to work due to sickness, etc.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Laurence. It looks like we have received a question by video. It's asked by Evie Alia, who runs a micro retail outlet, Warrung, which sells consumer goods to the last miles. Let's watch the video.
Can you tell me how and Friends help small business like mine to grow and become digital, and what sort of insurance is available for small business like mine?
Doron, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, when you're seeing Evie Alia, she's a small store in Indonesia, and the main challenges that they have is really the inefficiencies in the entire networks. So she's paying the highest prices for the products that she's buying, and it means that also the consumer goods and most of the people in emerging markets are transacting with these small stores. It's 86% of the transactions are done through these small stores, so they're paying also the highest prices in the market. It's really to provide a solution for Evie Alia, you really have to provide a solution that solves the inefficiencies in the value chain, and that's what we're doing. We're providing a full holistic solution that digitizes the entire value chain, and that enables to create the efficiencies to provide better prices for Evie Alia, and to also enable the larger companies like Coca-Cola to provide them with discounts, with promotions that are especially designed for them. Today, Coca-Cola has no relationship with these small customers because they would order maybe 2 cases of Coke. It's too small to go and reach them. But through our services, they can do that. We create those efficiencies, and then there's data. We start knowing what's going on in the value chain. We understand what Evie Alia is selling, who's selling to her. We get that information, and now you can provide trade finance, you can provide credit, so it enables them to grow their business. And on top of that, now you can start providing additional services like insurance. And at these times, as I would say post-COVID, we launched together with AXA a micro-insurance service for Evie Alia and similar stores that enabled them to receive insurance, a very simple insurance that they can afford, around $4 a year, and it enables them that once they're sick and have to go into the hospital, they get a flat fee paid directly to them. So it's also simple payments if they need it. And that's, I think, the secret of creating these type of solutions for the last mile.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Michael, this one's for you. Uber is seen as an innovator in mobility and delivery and has been in the spotlight as it relates to workers' rights debates. How do you address these issues, and how does working with partners like AXA help you better protect drivers and couriers?
Thanks, it's a great question. And I think insurance certainly plays a role here. In Europe, you mentioned we've got hundreds of thousands of drivers and couriers that work on the Uber app. And in a survey we commissioned, over 90% of them said that flexibility was the #1 reason that they worked on the Uber platform. We know, though, that independent work can lead to protection gaps, since many social protection systems just aren't adapted for this. So we're proponents of creating modern legislation that recognizes independent work and that creates ways for providing social protections. In the meantime, though, we're not waiting. We think that flexibility shouldn't come at the expense of protection. And that's why we launched partner protection with AXA to cover drivers and couriers for injuries while they're working on app. Grant was mentioning that earlier. This is a coverage that starts when a driver or courier accepts a ride or a delivery request and ends when the passenger or the item reaches their destination. And in Europe, we've also included income protection for lost wages if somebody can't work because of serious illness or because of injury or even parental leave. And all these protections that we've developed with AXA are included in the platform for drivers and couriers when they're on app.
Thank you. Looks like there's a question in the chat from Guillaume. So let's hand this one to Garance. Let me just read it to you. What does it actually mean to protect independent workers in this new economy, gig economy? How do we do it, and what innovative solutions, products and services has AXA's emerging customers been able to develop?
Thank you, Scott and Guillaume, who have asked it. I think a very essential element in this answer is the fact that working with gig economy and other tech platforms gives us a really unprecedented ability to embed insurance into workers' day-to-day activities. So it becomes a sort of natural add-on instead of being something difficult, instead of it being a chore, right? Oh, I have to, add my insurance. How am I going to do that, etc. So our insurance, it provides protection in 3 different forms, just so to make it easier to sort of remember. It's cover on the job, so using the partner's platform. So it's coverages like work accidents or professional liability, which means professional liability means harm caused to others. A good example is electricians, for example. So it's insurance where you can use, we've been doing it, you use a sort of loyalty program with an energy provider, and it can provide personal accident or hospitalization, etc., to, let's say, the top performing electricians. So there's an incentive element, right? So that's cover on the job. Number 2 is income replacement. So business interruption insurance when there's a damaged car, back to the video, or in case of inability to work. And finally, covering for the health, their health and that of their families. So obviously teleconsultations, which is the word of the day these days, with the crash course we've all taken on health in the world, with health professionals. Hospitalization covers, so a very one where we've seen there's a huge gap is with domestic workers. A significant share of domestic workers are women, who also have a tendency of having a very holistic approach to protection. So then they introduce that into their household and communities. So to finish, beyond the what I just talked about was the what, there's the how. And here it's by making sure that the coverage and the claim information is accessible inside the app, right, and embedded into their profile. And premiums can be sort of regularly deducted from revenues directly, which makes things very easy and which makes the customer journey and the customer experience very seamless. And less, again, back to my initial point, less of a chore.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Michael, this next question is for you. AXA Uber programs are strong throughout different continents in very diverse markets, around, I think, 30 countries overall in Europe and the Middle East and Africa and in Mexico, with their own ways of working. How does Uber adapt to the local marketplace?
So for us, it's actually over 70 countries that we've got to look at. So that's a lot to look after. We look at regulations, we look at market practice, we look at culture. We focus on making sure that our coverage is compliant with local rules and regulations in many places. And we do see, as we're doing that many workers just don't have the social protections that employees have. So as a result of that, we put occupational injury coverages in place for drivers and couriers in many of our markets. And these have to be adapted market by market. We started the design of our insurance programs with AXA in France in 2016, and there we really looked hard at legislation created at the time for sharing economy companies, which allowed platforms to provide protection for independent workers. And this then was the basis of the program that I described earlier that we later went on to expand to the UK and the rest of Europe 2 years later. The program we have with AXA in the UK and the EU now includes both on and off app protections. We've made that a priority, and we took the decision to provide that more than what the law actually requires. We think it's the right thing to do, and we also think it's a reflection on the cultural values and norms in the region. We've got similar programs in many countries around the world where we provide some combination of coverage for medical expense, permanent disability, or accidental death when on app.
Great, thank you. The next question is for Doron. Can you walk us through a concrete example of how partnerships, Coca-Cola, Microsoft, MasterCard, et cetera, help you enable small businesses to keep growing?
Sure. Yeah, we're here on a huge task. It's to get these 400 million businesses digitized, and these value chains they're very tough value chains. It's small. Very small businesses, but there's many of them. You can't do it alone. You have to have very strong partnerships, like we have with AXA. We have additional partnerships with Coca-Cola, and for example, with Coca-Cola, their main issue is that they can't reach these small businesses, and even if they reach them through other sellers, so they can't really reach them with promotions, incentives. They can't really provide them with better prices. So through our solution, we enable them to know what's going on, what are the transactions, how these small businesses are buying, and we also enable them to deliver and provide promotions and incentives. So it means that for these small retailers now, they can really get the best prices, but now they can get additional discounts directly from Coca-Cola, which nobody else can provide them with. So it brings them a lot of value. On top of that, we're working with Microsoft, which basically was our first global strategic partner, and they identified that all these small businesses are not going to one day download Office 365, start using Excel, and manage their business. You need different type of productivity tools, and that's exactly also the notion behind our infrastructure. The need is for different type of solutions in emerging markets. You can't just take a solution from the Western world, plug it in, and say, oh, it's going to work. So we're working very closely with Microsoft, with their R&D engineering teams, and creating new products, both from our solutions and from Microsoft. And Microsoft is selling it in the market. And maybe last but not least is the trade finance. It's a great enhancement to have the capabilities to provide lending, but again, you have to be innovative in how you create this lending. It's not just giving out money. You have to think how you provide it to drive the business. So it's usually giving out products, if it's on consignment or in various different schemes that enable the businesses to grow the business. And MasterCard is a very strong partner for us in the trade finance space as well.
Great. Thank you. We got one last question, and we're going to take it from the chat. This one is asked by Laura. In fact, let's make it a roundtable question. So for each of you, how would you describe the future of protection for independent workers in one word? So let's start with Michael. Let's start with you first this time.
Only one word.
And you can explain your word, I guess. So.
No, that's not the game. One word.
Okay. I would say tailored. I think the challenge with ensuring access to protection for independent workers is our regulations and systems are just not designed for it right now. And as people want greater flexibility, we need to create solutions that fit their needs. People aren't all the same. So we need to take that into account. And also consider when it comes to platforms that people are working oftentimes across multiple platforms during any given day.
Perfect. Thank you. Doron, what do you think?
For us, really for our customers, it's simplicity. Our customers never used insurance, so it has to be super clear to them what it is, why it drives them, gives them benefit. They have to spend a very expensive money for that type of insurance, and if they're not familiar with it, they're not going to do it. So the simplicity is super important.
Excellent. And Garance, you get the last word.
I think I'm going to say one word because each of you pronounced 173 respectively and 294 words. So my one word is going to be portable.
Okay. Portable. Excellent. I think that wraps up for today. I want to thank all three of our guests for your great insights on this topic. I found it very interesting and found how all three of you are working very hard to take an evolving economy and really help service the people that are in it. So I think that's absolutely fantastic. I'm glad we were able to have this conversation and actually be able to broadcast it. To all of our viewers, thank you for tuning in. Sorry for the technical difficulties. I heard it was better on YouTube, so I hope you're able to switch over. We'll continue this conversation, and the full replay will soon be available on our platforms. Make sure you tune in again. There's more episodes on AXA Live Innovation Talks coming up in the following months. We'll leave you with an interesting video showcasing how Friends is helping out in the protection of last mile distributors. Stay safe and take care. Thank you.
Nama Ibu Haji Eis DT. Umur Ibu 60 tahun, mengisi waktu luang sehari-hari Ibu jualan.
Ceritakan kepada saya tentang penyakit Ibu.
Pertama kali Ibu bangun pagi-pagi, kencing, agak sakit sedikit. Kedua kali, ketiga pas kencing keempat kalinya, Ibu kencingnya ada darahan. Ibu langsung ke rumah sakit, ternyata dari rumah sakit diperiksa infeksi saluran kencing. Terus Ibu dirawat sampai 4 hari.
Gimana saat Anda pertama mengajukan klaim? Apa yang terjadi?
Dibantu sama Bill.
Saya berinisiatif sendiri untuk membantu ibu-ibu yang sudah memiliki aksa sahabat sehat, dan kemudian karena kurang mengertinya ibu, saya bantu proses dari awal hingga akhir.
Kapan Ibu tahu bahwa klaimnya sudah dibayar?
Nggak tahu ada informasi dari bank ke Ibu, katanya ada uang masuk dari asuransi AXA.
Bagaimana perasaan Ibu?
Senang.
Digunakan untuk apa uang klaim tersebut?
Ada di tabungan, belum dipakai apa-apa buat kenang-kenangan dari asuransi AXA.